Welcome to the Gritcast, where we get into the nitty-gritty of all things hockey. From the East to the West Coast. Here are your hosts, Matt Pierce, Nikosh Ganguly, and Darius Dominguez.
Hello, folks of all ages and everything else. Welcome back to episode, I don't know what, of the Gritcast. If you guys can't tell, my voice is shot. I've had a cough for like the past 2 weeks and nothing else, but it's messed up my voice for some reason. So my voice is gone. With that being said, though, the episode, it must go on. I'm sorry you have to hear me like this. So first things first, trade-related reasons are the new epidemic in the NHL, fellas. So it took one team to do it. It was Arizona first, and now the NHL is so copycat too. You know what I mean? So it's just like one team will do it, and now every single team has done it. So Jacob Chikrin, he's healthy, but he hasn't played in 2 weeks. And Gavrikov, he's been healthy, and he hasn't played in over a week. And that brings me to yesterday, before the Capitals game, they announced that Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway were scratched for trade-related reasons. And then they were traded to the Boston Bruins for, I think it was like 4 draft picks and like Craig Smith. So, first of all, has your opinion changed on trade-related reasons? And number 2 is, why is this such a good deal for Boston? Matt, go first here.
I don't have a problem with trade-related reasons. I think I mentioned it last episode. Some of these teams, the guys that they have on the block, they know what they have, and they don't really want to risk losing a valuable piece. And yeah, it's frustrating how much better Boston got without having to give up that much. And it's stupid. That's all I have to say about that deal.
It's not even about how much better they got. It's like the fit of those players in the team. Like Hathaway is such a Bruin. You know what I mean? Like it's
because he's from Maine. Is that why?
Well, no. What? No, it's just the way he plays. Like what a great pickup for them. And yeah, like I get it. Like, you don't want these guys to get hurt before you trade them, right? If you're definitely going to trade them or you're shopping them, like, makes sense. You don't want them to get hurt. But at the same time, like, dead ass, like, 2 weeks out, like, we're scratching guys. And, like, Chikrin hasn't played in 2 weeks. He might not play for another 2 weeks because he was supposed to get traded last week, and he didn't. So, what's going on with that? I don't know. I don't know. Like, if you had like, let's say Ryan O'Reilly before he got traded, right? If they're holding him out, and you're a Blues fan, you're going to the game, and you're watching like half the team play because they're like, yeah, we're trading everyone. Like, that's kind of, I would be a little upset. Although, like, I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, you don't want them to get injured, but it's annoying. I think it's just annoying.
Yeah, and so the official trade was a 23 first, a 25 second, a 24 third for Craig Smith for Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway. So this brings me to the topic of the Washington Capitals. I think they realized they're not that good this year. Tom Wilson had ACL surgery. He came back and he got hurt again. Nicholas Backstrom got like hip replacement surgery. And, you know, living life, you need your hips to be nice. And I'm sure playing hockey, it's a lot harder when you have a different hip. So, you know, and then Ovechkin was dealing with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, his father passed away. So the Capitals are dealing with a lot. John Carlson has been injured forever. So their defense, and they're like all their defensemen except for Carlson are UFAs coming up, Orlov included, who they just traded. So it made sense for them to do something like this. And honestly, I respect it a lot because it makes sense. You know, why try doing this? Ovi, his goals only matter in the regular season anyway. So you may as well just, you know, punt the season, come back next year, you know, get a little younger, get a little better, and see what happens. So I'm cool with the Capitals on that, but it looks like the New York Rangers, even after trading for Tarasenko, are still going after Patrick Kane. It came out recently that they're still looking at him, Patrick Kane, when obviously he's still down to go there. He was like crying basically when they didn't get him last time. And the Rangers are sitting Jake Leschyshyn. Not really that important. He's not that amazing. And Vitaly Kravtsov, he's definitely going to Chicago in that kind of trade. And then the Rangers and Patrick Kane each have the leverage here. Chicago doesn't really have any leverage because Patrick Kane has a full no move clause. So do you guys think when it's all said and done, Patrick Kane is a New York Ranger, or will he like stick it out in Chicago for the rest of the year?
I think he stays in Chicago. Like that's a lot of cap maneuvering that Chris Drury has to do in New York to make something like that fit.
Yeah.
I think at this point, with everyone starting to get moved and a lot of the big names coming off the board already, I think it's going to be really hard to make that work. So I think he ends up staying in Chicago as well, because it sounds like he came out and said basically like the Toronto thing is false. So like to me, the only team he wants to go to is the Rangers, and I don't know if they can make that work, especially at this point. You have Tarasenko, who's playing great, and like if Kane is hurt, like it's a dumb move, I think, this year at least. Like
Yeah.
I think he stays in Chicago.
And I think maybe you punt this trade thing down one more year, because Tays, I don't really want to discuss his future because that seems really bad what he's dealing with, and Kane is just like it's an injury, so maybe he can get surgery and get that good for next season. But with that being said, man, Patrick Kane recently remembered how to play hockey. He had like 7 goals in 11 periods, which was insane. He's been electric the past like 2-3 games. And I think he knows this coming Friday is the trade deadline. So he remembered, I'm Patrick fucking Kane. So that should be interesting. And I don't know if the Leafs thing, he threw cold water on it, but I don't know if I entirely believe that like he didn't want to go play with Austin Matthews, because he's been on record saying that he'd like to play with him before. They're both 2 of the best American-born players ever. Toronto has a chance to win the cup. And before the Ryan O'Reilly thing, they had the assets to get him. So I don't know. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I don't know what'll happen there.
I think like they still have the assets to get him. I don't like. He makes too much.
If he moves,
yeah.
I think if he moves, it's not going to be a return that anybody thinks it'll be, because
no.
Chicago has no leverage. And let's be honest, he might just go sign back in Chicago when the year's over. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like the thing with the Rangers for me is like everyone's talking about him going to the Rangers. It sounds like the Rangers are one of 2 teams on his list. So like the trade's gonna end up being Patrick Kane for like a second, like
it's like the Taylor Hall thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's gonna be like nothing, and then he'll probably just end up in Chicago again next year. Like it's the most like non-surprising chain of events that's probably gonna happen throughout this whole trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's just funny because Patrick Kane is like, he's Patrick Kane. You know what I mean? Like you say the name Patrick Kane, you're like, wow, man, Patrick Kane. But age catches up to you. So that we'll see where he goes. We'll keep you updated here next week. But today it came out that Kasperi Kapanen was not going to be at practice for the Penguins, and everyone was like, whoa, what the hell's going on? And I believe Ron Hextall just signed him to a $3.2 million per year for 2 seasons deal, and they put him on waivers today because he sucks. He's not good. There's a reason the Leafs traded him. So he's on waivers today. And I also read an Athletic article before this started that said Mike Sullivan really, really wants Jacob Chikrin. Like, he really wants him. But Hextall doesn't really want to go for it. But I want to ask you guys, do you think when you have Crosby and Malkin, you should pull the trigger on a Chikrin trade?
I think it's kind of too late for them to really do anything substantial to reclaim the glory that once was like the Penguins of the olden days. Just let it ride out.
Yeah.
They're getting up there in age. Like, they're not super old, but they're also not I don't know, like the key parts. Like,
but they're still playing really good. Like Crosby, Malkin, and Letang are all still really premier NHL players. I think they really have to work on the peripherals of the squad.
Yeah, and they've also mortgaged their future far too many times to keep that quote unquote dynasty going, even though it was like back-to-back cups. But yeah, I just think it's a little too late to do something to reclaim the old magic.
Yeah, I think they kept the band together.
Bit of a hot take, but yeah.
No, I kind of agree with you.
Trying to get more out of that is just
they're really squeezing it, right? Like, as much as
they're
they
really
can.
squeezing it. Yeah,
trying to get blood out of a stone.
Yeah,
As
like,
they say.
I think like obviously we all look at like Crosby, Letang, Malkin, those guys, and we're like, where else would they play? Like they're Penguins for life kind of thing, right? And obviously they just re-sign them to keep them. They kind of made like this investment in them, like they'll be here till they retire.
They extended everyone.
Yeah, and
everyone.
To me, that's kind of like I don't know if you can win a cup with those guys anymore, to be honest. Like, I know they're playing well, but it's like the rest of the team is suffering because these guys stay, right? Like, they should have moved on from these guys just because of the ages. Like, Crosby's what, 35, 36?
He's still like a top 10 center though.
I know, but when you look at I think Letang's older than him, Malkin's older than him.
Yeah.
So when you look at those guys, it's like maybe you should have maybe keep Crosby, move on from those guys, which is crazy to say, but I think I just don't think you can win a cup with those guys because you're not going to recoup the assets in time to make a run. Like, where are you going to get trade for Chychrun? Okay, cool. How? With what?
They don't have any prospects.
Yeah, they have 0 prospects. They have 0 guys they can trade. Like, guys like Kapanen, can't trade them because they suck. Now they're on waivers, and probably
Arizona
one of the minors. Nobody's picking that up.
Yeah, Arizona doesn't even want those guys. So I don't know if it makes sense to trade for Chychrun. I know it's you have Crosby and Malkin, maybe you go for it. But I don't know what's going on. And the Penguins might not even make the playoffs this year. The East is so extremely tight. Everyone is in within 4 or 5 points of each other. People have games in hand.
The Sabres,
so the East playoff race,
the Sabres have
the Red
6
Wings
games. Too. And the Red Wings.
I know. It's crazy. But the Islanders are kind of in the mix still, even though Barzal's out, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. The Capitals, I know they made a trade, but they're so kind of in the mix. I'm sure those guys are going to try every game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now the Leafs, they are in Minnesota tonight. For I believe it's their Black Excellence game.
It's in Toronto.
Yeah, in Toronto. So that'll be a lot of fun. I think Mark Frazier is going to be doing some stuff. So that's awesome. So I think after last game, the Leafs pummeled the Sabres. They came out and they chased Luukkonen around the ice. Ryan O'Reilly, big hat trick, Marner, 5 assists, Tavares 4 points. After they said, I don't know if Tavares can play wing here, but it seems like he figured it out pretty easily because it's almost like good players can play anywhere. But yeah, really good game from them. Matthews has looked pedestrian since he came back from injury, just my opinion. But I'm not worried about Austin Matthews at all. I have no reason to be. So Minnesota, there's not really it's weird they're playing on Friday and not Saturday, Darius. I don't know if that's just me.
Oh, it's really weird because they play Sunday too. What's up with that?
It's a Friday home game.
Yeah, the only Friday home games I can ever remember are the Hall of Fame games, and that they have every year. But that is it,
yeah.
Right? And then they usually play a back-to-back on the Saturday. But
exactly.
Why? It's a Friday, Sunday, and Sunday's in Seattle. What?
Oh man, it's weird. But I hope the Leafs can pull up the dub there. Nothing too crazy. I'm just Ryan O'Reilly and Noah Chari have been awesome additions. They kind of fit. And Noah Chari underratedly gives the fourth line a thing to do. Ashton Reese and Achari they just run around running people over. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Dude, the Buffalo game I was having fun. I was not only were they scoring goals, and I was kind of taken aback, what is actually happening here? Because they just kept scoring. But every time the fourth line was out there, the Sabres were pinned. Their top lines were pinned in their own zone. They couldn't move. It was, I don't know. Achari is given that fourth line, it's such a breath. I don't know. I don't even know the word. He's given them just a new edge. That's just amazing. They're playing really well. They have a purpose. They have a purpose.
Yeah, and the thing was they were trying everyone on that fourth line. So it's nice to have guys there. I know people don't really I'm not the biggest Kerfoot fan, but having him on the fourth line is pretty nice. So
it's kind of crazy actually because he's Alex Kerfoot. I know he hasn't been that great this year, but
no, but he's a career half a point a game guy. So usually you don't get that on the fourth line, but they have a lot of depth. But now so Shea Weber was traded. The elite Norris level defenseman that we know and love, Shea Weber, who hasn't played hockey in 2 years, was traded. Welcome to the NHL, everyone.
Sick league.
He goes from the Vegas Golden Knights, who Shea Weber was, a part of, and now he's on the Arizona Coyotes. So Arizona adds to a deep core, man. They got guys like Pablo Datsyuk, Chris Pronger, Dave Bolin.
I was gonna say that's quite a first pairing with Pronger and Weber.
Yeah, not bad. Dave Bolin's there, Marian Hossa. Arizona has a lot of, their
low-key
alumni
all-star
squad.
lineup.
Their alumni squad is really good. and they traded Dyson Mayo and like a fifth. And the cap thing with that is Arizona wants to hit the floor, so they're not going to put Weber on LTIR. They're just going to leave him there so they can get closer to the cap ceiling rather. And then Dyson Mayo, he makes a lot of money on the NHL squad, but if you put him in the minors, he doesn't count against the cap at all. So he's basically off the books, which is interesting. But the NHL is so stupid. Imagine trying. I'm gonna ask you guys this: how would you explain this trade to someone who's a casual hockey fan, who like imagine someone calls, like, say your cousin or like your uncle calls you Darius, and they're like, oh, Darius, Shea Weber was traded. Like, what does this mean? And then you have to explain to them that he hasn't played in 2 years.
I do this. I go, I don't know, and I hang up.
Because 2 words, dead cap. That's it.
Yeah, like how do you explain to somebody that somebody got traded from one team to another and he's actually never played for that team? The last team he played for was the one that traded him to the team he's on now. But he's not on the team.
That's a weird way of explaining it. Like, not even I can wrap my head around that.
You know what I mean? Like, the last team he played for traded him to the team he was just on, who traded him to this other team, but he hasn't played for the team in between yet. And it was 2 years ago, by the way, 2 years ago.
Shea Weber hasn't played in 2 years.
But he's been on 2 different teams since then.
Yeah.
This is 13.
Yeah. And David Clarkson. Explain the David Clarkson thing to somebody. How he gets traded back to the Leafs at the end of everything and then away again to Vegas, I think. What?
No. It's so dumb. What? It's so dumb. But yeah, and in addition to that, Nikita Zaitsev got traded to Chicago. So they're Kyle, what's his name? Davidson. That guy is the greatest tank commander of all time. I gotta give him credit. Peter Mrazek is his starting goalie. He has like Jason Dickinson and Tyler Johnson on the first line, and Nikita Zaitsev is a part of that decor. So that guy, he's doing something right. Nikita Zaitsev wanted to be traded for a while. Apparently Sens like management were mad at DJ Smith because he kept playing him so much. Because I guess he believed in him. He sucks. But a 7-year deal signed by the great Lou Lamoriello. It's coming to a close soon here. But man, what an awful freaking contract. I don't know how Kyle Dubas got out of that without having to like pay anything. So really good deal. But now some unfortunate injury news. Cole Perfetti is out 8 weeks, which is bad for the Jets because I think they've been on a kind of a tumble as of late. But I think this does open up, or really opens up the idea that they need to add a forward. I don't think it's Timo Meier, as you know, someone we know might think, but I think it's someone on the lower end of forwards. So, what do you guys think that's available would really fit the Winnipeg Jets?
Darius, I'll let you go on this one. I'm trying to think here.
I don't know. Everything I see on Twitter is that they want Timo Meier, and I just don't know if that makes sense, you know?
I've seen a lot of like B tier forwards, like a guy like JVR might work there.
I've seen JVR too, but but then JVR is another, like, if you want a rental, sure, because I think JVR is UFA, right, at the end of this year. So sure, because Philly will retain, like, no problem. What do they have to lose? So if you want a guy like that, I guess, but he's like another power play specialist. Like, is he going to help you that much 5-on-5 with the team you already have? Right?
He's been good this year.
5-on-5?
Yeah, he's been good this year.
Okay, that's
JVR's been really good this year.
Interesting. I mean, it could work. I just don't know if that's like, if the Jets are like, what's their goal this year? Win the cup? Because they're playing really well, right? Like,
yeah,
you would think that's win the cup, right? So obviously, if you're in the playoffs, you want to win the cup. But I just don't know if like JVR is the guy that puts you over the edge. Like, if you're gonna go get somebody, I don't know if JVR is the guy that you get, and then you're like, yeah, we're winning the cup for sure now. JVR, baby.
I mean, not everyone can get Timo Meier. There's only one Timo Meier, and I think Timo Meier is a Carolina Hurricane. You know what I mean? They have a lot of cap and a lot of stuff to make that happen.
New Jersey Devils, yeah.
I think they can offer a lot more than the Jets could, and they can pay him a lot more than the Jets could.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in the time that Kevin Cheveldayoff has been the Jets GM, he hasn't really made any like big splashes. It's just been like depth guys or veterans because the only like notable guy I could think of like is when he got Paul Stastny. It's like, oh, big whoop. Twice. Yeah.
Traded for Paul Stastny twice.
But I mean, I think he splashes for Meier. As much as I don't want to give in to the Brad propaganda here, Timo Meier, I think is going to be a Winnipeg Jet. And
really?
I don't know. I think it's just going to be a rental though, because that qualifying offer is horrendous.
It's $10 million for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I think New Jersey or Carolina will shell out more, because they could offer him like an 8-year, $9 million deal, like or something like that, right? They could extend him and give him. They could give him like $72 million. It's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Rather than just 10. And I do think New Jersey is in a position where they're ahead of schedule in their rebuild. I don't think they thought they'd be this good. They have a lot of guys. Alexander Holtz, who's not a mainstay on the roster yet. He could go in that kind of trade. They have Nemec, who will come up and make that decor even better, adding to like a core of Luke Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, Damon Severson. Like, you're forgetting that. And they have all their draft picks. They haven't really bought. So yeah. I think New Jersey makes a lot of. You add Timo Meier to like a Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt line, you're really cooking, I must say. And then Carolina, the same thing. You have a lot of guys that could go back in that trade, and money to make it work as well.
Carolina could be pretty scary because they're to me they're a way better team than New Jersey, and they have more playoff experience. And they just lost Pacioretty, so I'm pretty sure they get the cap relief from that.
Exactly.
I don't even know. I think his contract is either at the end of this year or next.
Yeah, no, it's the end of this year. He's a UFA.
Yeah. So you can add for this year, have the deal kick in next year, figure out the cap then. I think Carolina would be an interesting one to watch out for too.
And it just makes too much sense for those two teams. Like,
why wouldn't you add a guy who can score like that?
I get the Jets. I get the Jets getting him, but like my thing about Carolina is they don't have the guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the guy. Like I'm going.
But see, that's what makes them so good though. They don't need a guy, but it's just a whole unit together.
But I don't know if they'll ever win like that.
In the playoffs, you need the guy. You know what I mean? Like Colorado has like 3 of the guys. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Oilers,
they have him. You know.
Oilers have 2 of the guys. The Leafs,
and 3. They have 3. We have Cody Ceci. Let's not forget about him.
Oh boy.
My bad, my fault. But like Tampa Bay has like 7. Tampa Bay has like 7 of the guys. You know what I mean? Like guys who in the playoffs or like Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon can like win a playoff series on their own.
Yes.
I don't know if Carolina has a guy like when I'm looking at their stats, right? They have a lot of guys that are like just below point per game, just above point per game. It's like half their team. But they don't have like a guy who like explodes off the marking for production. And I know production isn't like the main thing for players. Like look at Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. No offense, Matt, of course. But it's like, does Ryan Nugent-Hopkins drive play at 5-on-5? Not really. Or on the power play. He's just really good, at getting his points. And I think Carolina has a lot of play drivers. But they don't have like a guy in the playoffs who's like, okay, fuck this shit. I'm scoring now. I feel like they don't have that guy. As much as I love Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov and all the other Martin, I don't know how to say his last name.
Necas.
Yeah. Like he's good too. All these guys are really good, but I think they need the X factor. They don't have an X factor. Like the Leafs have Matthews. Tampa Bay has freaking 14 of them. Boston has Bergeron, Pasternak. The Rangers have Panarin and Shesterkin and
Zibanejad.
Yeah, and like even going in the West, Dallas has Jason Robertson and Jake Ottinger, for example, and just like all Vegas has Jack Eichel, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been a little iffy this year.
Yeah.
But
besides this year,
well, like Mark Stone, right?
Yeah,
Mark Stone.
Yeah.
But all these guys are like, these guys are X factors. I think Timo Meier is a guy that can come into Carolina and be an X factor for them, just like adding to everything. So I think he's a guy that will drive insane point production if he goes there. He's really physical. He drives play. He's willing to do everything for the team. I think he's a guy that, number one, could just add to their culture. He's the kind of guy who could, play their style and also jump out and be that kind of X factor for them. And I think New Jersey, even like Jack Hughes, is a guy that is an X factor at this point in his career. I think so. And I think a guy like Timo Meier could be that, and they have that. And Winnipeg, they have Carter Hellebuyck as an X factor. All these guys have like one player where I'm like, okay, I can see that guy taking a whole playoff series. The Carolina Hurricanes, I think they're all amazing. I just don't think they have that yet.
You're not wrong. Yeah, 100%. That's always been my criticism of them. Like when everyone's like, Carolina's going to win the cup or Carolina's going to go far. Exhibit A last year, they didn't have that guy. They did not have it, right? And everyone thought it was probably their year last year.
How much of it do you think is like a Brendan Moore philosophy where it's like a team over like individuals? Because he seems like the type of coach that would be like, okay, I don't want to say like he doesn't allow players to rise above to the occasion, but it's more of a team game than seeing somebody take over.
I think, like, yes, definitely. And I think that's why they're so successful in the regular season and even winning some playoff series over the last couple of years.
Like that was also like the same thing with like the Barry Trotz Islanders. Like there was no one player that took over, but it was the whole team sort of gelling together. Like you could even say that about the Bruins too. I know they have like Pasternak, McAvoy, but whenever I see a Bruins game, like there's no like one player that sticks out to me. It's the entire team, like flawlessly executing the system that Jim Montgomery has. I
think you make a good point, but in teams like the Bruins and who did you just mention before them too?
Well, the Barry Trotz Islanders.
Oh, the Islanders,
like the current day.
I think they, especially the Bruins, they play like a team. They play like that structure, like the Hurricanes do. But they do have that guy. Like they have a guy that would come and make a difference like that in Game 7. Like Pasta would make a difference, right? They do have that guy.
Like
he might not be
the
whole series,
yeah, this
but
is my thing. Pasternak's a guy who will like, if you're down by a goal, he's gonna be the guy who's gonna score. He's gonna be the guy who's gonna score. And Carolina, I think they have guys that like Andrei Svechnikov. I'm a big fan of. Aho, big fan of. Natchez, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've heard it pronounced like 18 different ways.
Yeah, like Nikas, Natchez.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
Yeah, like he's really good. Even Dougie Hamilton, he's not there. I'm lying. He's on New Jersey.
He's still good though. You're not lying.
Still a good player.
Brent Burns has been amazing there. Like they got him for basically nothing, and he's fit in perfectly with Jacob Slavin. So they have a bunch of these guys, but I don't know if maybe they have more than one guy, but they don't have like. I feel like it's nice to have the one dude who can be like, okay, it's my time. Like I'm the superstar.
I think if it's like game 7, and you're tied like 2-2 against, pick a team, and Brendan Moore's looking up and down his bench, he's like, I have no idea who's gonna score us this goal.
Jordan Stahl, come on down.
Like who's gonna go out and get us this freaking goal?
Paul Stastny.
Does he play for the Hurricanes?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, Barry.
There's your X Factor, ladies and gentlemen. Jets legend, Paul Stastny.
It's Kotkaniemi. It's actually Kotkaniemi. But that being said, we will move on to Jakob Vrana, who is being showcased very obviously by the Red Wings. So we'll see if a team gets him. He's a good player, man. One of the best finishers over the past few years, especially at even strength. I could see a team that they miss on Meier or they miss on Patrick Kane, they miss on these guys. He could be a sneaky good ad for a team that just needs, that little push for goal scoring. Even Winnipeg, they could probably use a guy like him to finish the chances. So that'll be interesting to see. But we had some interesting news today. So Spencer Knight, the goalie for the Florida Panthers, is going to the player assistance program. So just quickly wanted to mention that and say we wish the best for him. And I hope he's back on the ice soon because he's a damn good goalie.
And then just like to add on to that, over the past few years, we've seen more and more players sort of reach out to the player system program. So it's nice to see that they're, not afraid of reaching out and getting help. So it's nice that the program is there. For all the awful things that the league has, the player system program is one of the shining stars.
For sure.
I think it's nice to see guys who have problems taking action and getting help instead of us finding out that they're homeless and they have all these issues and end up dead or whatever, right? Like it's nice to see that they have a program for these guys and it's working. So hopefully he gets the help he needs and he's back.
Yeah, it's
soon.
also like it's like a masculinity thing, just to like
for sure
go on with it. So it's really, especially in a sport like hockey where it's like promoted to the nth degree, like because it's the cup, You know, if
Push
you're
your
ever,
feelings down.
if you're ever hurting, man, now you got to get out there and play. So that's always interesting. But so this is a conversation I thought was interesting. So the St. Louis Blues, they know they're not that good this year. They traded Ryan O'Reilly. They traded Tarasenko. They traded Noah Chari. Ivan Barbashev is probably out the door. They're taking offers on Torrey Krug. But now now that they have all this capital that they got from an O'Reilly trade or a Tarasenko trade, they want Timo Meier and Jacob Chikrin. I think that would be so sick. I don't know about you guys, but that's like some video game shit to me. Do you guys think that's the right move for Carolina, considering like they're not young, but they're not old, and I feel like Chikrin and Meier kind of fit their timeline.
Those would be really good like starting blocks for a rebuild. Like push out the old brass there, the old core, and then like a brand new beginning for Doug Armstrong. Like that would be phenomenal if he managed to get both of those.
Yeah, that'd be retooling on the fly, like 101. Like you could compete again like right away. I just don't know if that's the way they should go. Like if you look at Berube's comments last night, he's like it sounded very Buffalo Sabre.
They don't play to win.
Yeah. It didn't. I wouldn't be happy if I was a fan of the Blues to hear that. So if that is the case, because Robert Thomas came out and said that's not true, that's very interesting. Why would he say that then? So if that's the case, get rid of them.
But I'm looking at a core of Robert Thomas, and Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah.
You're adding the problem is their defense is old, man. Like Justin Falk, Torrey Krug.
They're either old or they suck. Parayko's awful.
Parayko fell off.
That contract is gonna age like milk.
That guy fell off, bro. Like he was touted as being like the next premier defender in the league, and just like didn't happen.
I think they have an issue with their goaltending now too. Personally,
yeah, Jordan Binnington stinks,
and he did last year, and they still gave up Husso instead of Binnington.
Yeah,
we've seen it happen before. Why would you make that mistake again?
And now Husso is playing pretty damn good in Detroit, man. So he's also one of the reasons they're in the race. So I think the Blues story throughout the season is going to be really cool because they can also keep 3 draft picks in this draft amazingly, and then be good in the next 2-3 years. I mean, you still Jordan Kyrou who's young, Robert Thomas who's young, so that'll be. And they also have, I forget his name, but they have a couple guys, man. So should be interesting with the Blues. But next up, Matt, the Oilers don't seem like they're gonna do anything. Today, it said they're not getting Kane, they're not getting Carlson. So are they just gonna get Gavrikov and like let's ride Oils country? What's the move?
Unfortunately, that's how it sounds. Where it's like they either go after Gavrikov or they poach like a former Red Wing because Ken Holland, right? Because it's day after day on Oilers Twitter, like all the speculation. It's like, oh, I don't think they're gonna go for Carlson. Maybe they should go for Carlson, and then there's nothing, and then Ken Holland giving really vague answers on sports programs like sports radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting frustrating. Like Ken, buddy, like you have like Edmonton columnists who normally never speak of anything bad about management. It's always going after the players. Mark Spector, especially, but to have them call out Ken Holland, like he makes $5 million a year. Do something. Why are you just sitting on your hands? Like sure, he's up against the wall cap wise, but like other teams make it work. Other teams make it work. Did you not see what the Leafs and Bruins just did?
Both of them traded through Minnesota.
Exactly.
Both of them. And they traded a 4th and a 5th. Who cares? Who cares?
For salary retention. He's so scared about like tarnishing his legacy and his reputation.
Well, he doesn't have.
I know. This is just like the prior history. Like he is so keen on keeping his draft picks that he doesn't want to do anything unless.
What draft?
Yeah, it's just he plays it very safe, and it's frustrating because
you can't. Oh my God.
You are in year 8 of Connor McDavid. See, Nick, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. He plays it safe, and it's so stupid. What's there to lose? You're 85 years old, or close to it anyways. Like,
oh God.
Like, my guy.
I don't think he's that old.
Look, well, the way that he speaks, you could almost think he's 85 years old, but it's just he plays it so
85.
I'm rounding up, fellas. I'm just
rounding up to the nearest what, bro?
To
the nearest, I don't know, 20.
To the nearest 85.
But I think I've said this like time and time
67,
again.
Bro.
67.
Yeah,
I was close.
Oh, you're almost 20 years. You're almost 20 years off.
It's called exaggeration, Nick. Exaggeration.
He's almost 85. He's
almost 80.
He's gonna be the freaking Oilers GM for 20 more years, bro. Lock in for that, Matt. Armstrong will be retired, and Ken Holland will still be not trading his draft picks. Oh no, the freaking fifth grader that we're gonna pick in 10 years. We can't draft him. Like, what a fucking joke the Oilers are. And they have these guys. They have Borgo. Who the fuck cares about that guy? And some other idiots like Broberg trade him. Sorry, man. I know you paid $1 million for that jersey, but and there's also like Dylan Holloway. Dude, who cares? I know you have his jersey too, but I'm sorry. Who cares? I don't know why you have both of their jerseys. That's kind of weird. But
listen. Why not? But it's just, I've said this time and time again. This is a copy and paste segment on the show for how many months now? Whereas year 8 of McDavid. That's all I have to say. It's like, do something, Ken.
What's it? Year like 9 or 10 of Draisaitl?
Year 9.
11, yeah, or something. So
it's like make a move. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for?
He brought in last year. Evander Kane landed in his hands. That was an easy move.
But that was a gimme. I'm not giving Holland. I'll give Holland credit for the Kane contract, like the extension. But like there were pretty much no other GMs that were willing to take that PR stunt with Evander Kane, and so that was a gimme because Ken Holland, no moral whatsoever.
I don't know what's really going on there, but the Oilers, it doesn't seem like they're gonna have like some. Well, my problem is too, they keep punting the Puljujarvi move to like the next week. Just make the move, man. Like, come on.
And trade him. It's so stupid because like the cap casualties we had to send down, Holloway and Desharnais, and then in Holloway's first game back in the AHL, he gets hit from behind, shoulder injury, out for a month. So thanks, Ken. All in the name of bringing Yamamoto back up to do absolutely nothing.
Okay. That's unfair to blame Ken Holland for did Holloway get injured, but I get your sentiment there. But it's also like I saw Friedman put an article that said that Ken Holland's okay with running Vinny Desharnais and Broberg instead of getting a defenseman. Like, let's get real here, man.
What are we doing here?
Like they're good when they are sheltered. Like most of the opposition.
Most players are good when they're sheltered.
Most of the opposition they face are just like bottom 6. Congrats. Okay, I like Broberg and Desharnais, but it was first.
Don't get me wrong. There's a role for guys that can play against bottom 6 players. Everyone has to play, right? And there's a role for that.
But you need the guys that can match up against the top 6.
Tough comp. And it doesn't have to be the freaking Showtime premier elite defenseman in the league, just a guy who can, suppress the opposition for two minutes or like a minute in segments. So I don't know what the Oilers are doing. I think it's good for the league when the Oilers are good because McDavid is good, but McDavid's just the most boring human I've ever seen, which is not good for the league, but that's a whole other conversation. That was our quick hit on all the trade deadline rumors and trades for the past week. So we will get into our rap question, but before that, we will say follow us on all the socials. Like the video, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Rate us on the audio platforms if you listen to some audio. And shout out Matt, page for our Zoom account, Ed Darius produces the show. And I try my best to host the show, but it's been a little bit tough for me to get through all my conversations today. I'm not going to lie to you guys. With that being said, fellas, Matt wanted to get into this a little bit, but I will ask the question. Has this been the most interesting trade season we've had in a long time? As I said, Tarasenko was moved, Bo Horvat was moved, Ryan O'Reilly was moved, Dmitry Orlov just got moved, Patrick Kane might get traded, Timo Meier might get traded, Jacob Chikrin might get traded. Matt, what do you think, man?
Compared to other trade deadline seasons where it's been absolutely like crickets as the day approaches, it's been the most interesting. But the thing that really bothers me is all of like the so-called hockey insiders on Twitter racing to be the first to have a break on a rumor that probably isn't even true. Like it's so frustrating to scroll through Twitter, read a rumor to Kane such and such, and then it's retracted 5 minutes later because he doesn't really cover through all of his sources. Sources is being used very loosely here. But like anybody can be an insider on Twitter nowadays when you can pay for Twitter Blue, right?
Twitter Blue, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that artificial check mark, that'll really get you far.
It really does. Darius, what do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. It's the most, probably in the last, 10 years that the most players have been traded so far, and we're not even, the deadline's still a week away. And look at the names that have been moved, too, like Bo Horvat, to start us off, huge, right? Ryan O'Reilly moved. There's a lot of big names flying around that are actually getting moved well before the deadline. So it's definitely, and there's a lot of rumors. Chikrin still needs to get dealt. So yeah, definitely in the last, 10 years or so, this has definitely been the busiest, but are we going to be left with anything for the actual trade deadline day? I don't think so.
We never are.
Never really, but
when's
some nice
the last
line swaps?
Yeah, when's the last time
AHL deals? That should be fun on the day of.
When's the last time? Sorry, but watching the TSN trade deadline special,
Mark Stone.
or the two people that watch the Sportsnet coverage.
Mark Stone.
Yeah.
Mark Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Stone. I know where you're going with it. It's Mark Stone.
Yeah.
Fair
enough.
Yeah, who the fuck watches the Sportsnet coverage? I was just thinking about that. I feel like TSN coverage is also so nostalgic that people just prefer to watch it. And
same with the draft. Whenever they'd have clashing coverages, I don't think they do anymore. But I know TSN and Sportsnet would have their own coverage, and nobody watched.
Sportsnet has the rights to it now.
Yeah, TSN to me is just the nostalgic one too. So I just watch it more, and I enjoyed some of their analysts and their personalities a lot more. As much as I love Friedman over on Sportsnet, but for me, it's definitely the most closest thing we've had to an NBA level trade deadline movement. The NBA trade deadline was insane. A couple weeks ago, I don't know how that happened.
Dude, the Nets were see ya to their team.
Yeah.
At the deadline, and they're fourth in the conference, and they're bye.
It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, all these guys getting moved is fun. I think the league player movement makes headlines. So when you have all these guys getting moved, it's awesome. It's awesome for the league, and I'm a big fan of player empowerment because it just the headlines are better. Why do you think the NBA, the NFL, and the MLB are all so popular? Because the players are willing to be I don't want to play here anymore. Let me go play somewhere else. Or in hockey, they'd be I just don't we're not winning here, but maybe that'll change. But I don't know. Ooh. Patrick Kane made headlines when he said he was sad he didn't get traded to the Rangers. That was the biggest story for 2 weeks. And now he might go there anyway. So it's a lot of fun. But with that being said, thank you so much for listening or watching the episode. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week for the trade deadline to discuss all the moves with you. Maybe there won't be anything new, but if you're watching this in the day, have a great day. If you're watching this at night, have a good night. And if you're watching this, listening to this while driving, drive safe, everyone. There was a lot of snow past few days here in Mississauga. I don't know how it was over there in Manitoba, Matt, but I heard it was pretty bad
in the summers.
Yeah, of course, it's always bad there. But
winter construction, 2 seasons.
Yep. And with that said, have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
For more content, visit our YouTube channel and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the guys on social media at Matt_Mondays, at Nick LaFlame, and at Darius Dominguez.